Welcome to Flippin Good, where today we're going to talk about the hard lessons we learned on our very first flip.
Yeah, these are the mistakes that we could have avoided to save ourselves time and money that we want to share with you so that way you don't make the same mistakes.
I'm John.
And I'm John, and we're Flippin Good.
The first lesson we want to talk about is just get the dumpster. We thought we could save time and money. I don't know why, but we thought we would save time and money doing it ourselves, and that was just not the case. Even if you might have saved a little bit off the cost, it wasn't going to be worth how much longer you were spending taking care of that stuff.
Yeah, I have a 4x8 trailer that we built some walls for. We were like, man, this will be fine. There's a dump on our way home. It'll be fine. It just stacked up.
Yeah, once you have to handle the debris 3-4 times just to get rid of it, it just starts to take up way too much of your time, way too much of your energy. And having the dumpster where we could just load it in there and then a truck would come and haul it away for us was just so much better.
Yeah, and that was a really great lesson we learned early on in this flip was get rid of it one time. Another lesson we learned was when working on roofs, an issue we came into was we put on the brand new roof on the front of the house and then started to work upward, which was painting and siding and just trying to get things done on the front of the house. The issue we had was it was really, really hot.
Once the shingles heated up, the ladder just kind of shredded them as it sort of slid a little bit. Even though it wasn't a lot of motion, it was enough to ruin the shingles.
Yeah, and that would have been, that cost us time and it also cost us money because we didn't want to leave shingles that didn't have as much life.
And they probably wouldn't have passed inspection the way they got torn up. So we had to literally tear off the work we had just done. And had we just worked from the top down, we would have saved ourselves that extra step. The next lesson we learned was really plan ahead, even on the smallest details. And a prime example that we ran into with ours is the light switch in the full bathroom. It ended up causing headaches and trouble for us down the road, and we never envisioned that when we started plotting it out.
Yeah, so really design. I know it sounds crazy, but spend time making sure that what you envision in the bathroom or whatever the space is actually gonna work functionally.
Because in this specific example, we mounted the light switch on a stud before we put the walls up thinking this is fine, it'll go right here. Well, down the road, what ended up happening is we had to adjust our vanity and our mirror in order to be able to fit it into the bathroom where it needed to go based on the switch already being mounted. And we realized the only way we could get around it was to get an oval shaped mirror to still be able to center it over the sink and just barely miss that light switch.
Yeah, simple things of planning ahead would have saved us that annoying pain and time by just doing a little extra step of knowing where everything is gonna go before we close up the walls.
And this also came into play in the kitchen as well, because the kitchen had unique challenges that it presented to us. And so one of the problems that we ended up running into was, can we fit enough of our appliances and our cabinets in where they're supposed to go? And how many times did we have to rerun the gas line?
3 times. It was ridiculous. That was a piece where we ended up kicking ourselves kind of hard on because the way the stove sat back into the space, it would hit the gas line. That just made it so that way it took up too much space in the kitchen, and so had we done a little bit more planning, known what the back of the oven was going to look like, where things could be, we would have saved ourselves a lot of time.
Yeah, so really just plan ahead and think about all the small details. That way it doesn't come back to bite you later on.
The next big lesson we learned when doing this project was redoing things multiple times.
I love redoing projects. Just tearing apart the work you just did and then doing it again.
It's nothing better than spending money twice. One of the big projects that we ended up redoing was our exterior doors. We didn't plan on the drywall, which was the next step in tying things together. And so when we had installed the doors, we went through and we did the tape flashing around them, so it was really nice and weather sealed. We spray foamed them, they were ready to go. It was all wrapped up. But the issue is we didn't plan on the drywall. And so that 1/2-inch gap, if we were to install the drywall and the trim, it would have made it so that way our hinges were buried inside the wall. That was an expensive and painful lesson, because once you've messed with your doors the first time and you're messing with them the second time, nothing wants to close the same way.
And we had to tear off our beautiful trim that we
All the
custom
flashing,
made and
it was a pain.
redo it. Yeah.
So really just know what your next step is when you're doing projects.
And kind of going into redoing projects, we had to redo the balcony surface at one point, because we did the structural part and that was fine. And then we put the rubber membrane down most of the way, and that we thought was fine. And we didn't even put the railing on or anything like that. We said, we'll get to that later. Well, what ended up happening was, by the time we got back around to going and doing the balcony, we realized we had to resurface it again.
We ended up ripping the membrane, but know that going into it, like, really know how the finished product is gonna look, because redoing it is not enjoyable.
And know the code too, because that's another lesson that we learned, is you might think you've done it correctly, and
you probably did.
And then the inspector will come in and say, actually, you didn't, because code says
you got to do it different. Yeah. One of the code lessons we learned, kind of tying into knowing the building code
and redoing projects.
Talk to somebody who's done these projects before. With our windows, with the window in the bathroom upstairs and also the window on the landing, we ended up installing them as regular glass windows.
The inspector came and asked us, are these tempered glass? And we said, we don't know.
We didn't know.
And so he said, well, the one in the bathroom, in the full bath, has to be tempered glass, and the one on the stairwell has to be tempered glass. And that just means that if someone were to fall through it, the glass would crumble rather than break off in shards that would be obviously much more hazardous to you being cut. We called the manufacturer and we tried to get all the answers we could try to get about, is this window tempered glass or not? They couldn't confirm that it was, and they couldn't say that it wasn't. Really what we were going off of was the inspector kind of said, it will say on the window, etched in it, tempered. And since we didn't see that, even though one website had the window listed as tempered glass, we didn't see that etching in there. And so we just said, we need to order it and make sure that it's right. We don't want to get in trouble. We don't want anyone else to get in trouble, and we don't want anyone to get hurt either.
Yeah, so don't chance it. Talk to somebody who knows the specifics of the project that you're doing. Know the code that's required for that project, so that way you're doing it proper and you're doing it safe, and at the end of the day, it's done right.
Yeah, because we spent extra time and extra money rewiring our bathrooms and our kitchen because we used the wrong wire.
Yeah, so we used 14 gauge wire when we were supposed to use 12 gauge wire for the outlets. And we knew that they were supposed to be GFCI, but we didn't realize that it was supposed to be able to handle 20 amps versus 15.
At least this was something we caught before the inspector caught it.
Yeah.
So we realized too late into the project, we are running the wrong wire right now.
Yeah.
And we had to rip it all out and replace it with the correct wire. And that was just so
painful. It was painful. Really do some investigation, know what kind of wire you're supposed to be running. It was a painful lesson for us. Run the right wire.
Yeah. Look up the code before you start. Or like you said, talk to someone who knows what it is that can help you, because it'll save you time and money.
And headache.
Yeah.
All right, another big lesson that John and I learned when doing this flip is any old house is unique. And because it's unique, you have to adapt to the house.
Yeah,
sometimes
you're gonna uncover some stuff that you were not expecting.
No, and so you really just gotta be flexible in adapting to the changes and the change of plan. Sometimes you say, I really want to have this particular shower. Well, sometimes that shower doesn't match all up and it's just too big or too wide and it doesn't work in the space. Really just be flexible on your project. Know that it's not always gonna go perfect. These have been our painful lessons we've learned while flipping this house.
It was our first one, so all things considered, I think it went pretty well.
Please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. We're rookies at the end of the day, and so we're constantly learning and we're willing to take the time to learn so that way we don't repeat the mistakes. And if you've had similar lessons, please share them. We want to hear what other people have gone through, and so we don't make those mistakes as well. So thank you for your time, and we hope to see you on the next flip.
Yeah, see you later.